welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. It is good to see you guys. I know that the state of things may not quite be what you're wanting, and that is understandable. I know it's Wednesday. I know it's an odd hour of the evening, but I also felt that, Tuesday, too much was going on. There's still a lot going on in preparation for the Storm's first game that we couldn't fit in an episode then, as well as conflicting schedules with my potential guest, who I did lock down. I did get the interview. You will hear it tonight. It's a great one, so you won't want to miss it. But also just the chaos of everything. And then so I figured, well, Wednesday, that'd be a good night. And so things got a little crazy in the office, stayed there a little later than normal. Got home, and then I remembered that President Trump was going to address us, his fellow Americans, because there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on with coronavirus. So I figured, you know what? It's going to be a later one. It's going to be a Wednesday one, and it'll probably be the only one I do this week because there's a game tomorrow. But I wanted to give you guys a little change, something to take your mind off what's going on in this crazy world we live in. So here we are, episode 456. My special guest is Coach Dolezel of the Frisco Fighters. They have their first game tomorrow night. They will host the Gladiators of Duke City. It was a great conversation. I had a great time talking to him. First time I've ever talked to him. Getting to know Coach a little bit, so you guys will not want to miss that. And of course, we've got some stuff that we can catch up on here, so I'd like to invite you all to join me, because I think this is going to be what you guys need right now. Maybe not what you want. It might not be the content or the podcast or the live stream you want, but it's the one you need right now. So here we are, going to you live, and thank all of you who have tuned in. I'm still getting used to Facebook Live, and it's changed format here. Okay, there we go. I can see things a little bit better now. Guess we'll see how this goes. So anyway, on with the show, as they say, and we will begin tonight, of course, like we do with every episode of the Fan Show, every night that we do a Fan Show, with the most recent and latest headlines. Headlines, of course, brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises. They want to customize your world, and they can do just that. The backdrop behind me, that's a product of Dynamite Enterprises. Wanted to change up the scenery a little bit here, give you guys some consistency instead of just a wall and a door behind me. So I have the backdrop set up behind me because in the room that is my studio at home, basically I have the command center here with the laptop, with my microphone, with my audio box. But then we also got, for the program that I'm in, with the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, some lovely photography lights that we're supposed to be using for our stand-ups and our sideline report practice and things like that, and our desk reporting. So set up the backdrop against the wall that has the closet that really won't get used at all, and then I'm going to set up the lights in here so it'll give you a better experience once everything's said and done. And Dynamite Enterprises has helped me bring you that very experience. They can do mic flags, they can do tablecloths, they can do shirts, they can do hoodies, polos, socks, hats. They can do it all. You just got to go check out their website, dynamiteenterprises.com, or like I've said time and time again, go look at their Instagram, Dynamite Enterprises, because that is where you will see a bulk of the stuff that they've recently done, and it is all top notch. Trust me, there's nobody else I'd rather send you to than Dynamite Enterprises. They've been with us since not day one like Undisputed Belts. Shout out to Undisputed Belts, by the way, but they've been with us for quite a while, and they've always stood by their product, their quality, and their promise, especially if either of those first two do not come as delivered or promised. So Dynamite Enterprises, customize your world. And I think, of course, the big story today the big story of the week. Are you ready for this? Because I'm pretty super duper stoked about what the story of the week is, and that is game one of the Sioux Falls Storm. Oh, I'm sorry. Is my bias showing a little bit here? Yes. Game one. It is game week, and the Storm will host the Bismarck Bucks, who were in action this last weekend. So short week for them. They're coming off a heartbreaking loss to the San Diego Strike Force. And, that game really could have gone either way. It was just a matter of San Diego was able to make a few plays that Bismarck wasn't. And it was special teams. Cody Barber had an amazing game as a kicker, got a 38-yarder, a 40-yarder, so he was doing his job. But, they just really... There was a play or two in there that got away from them, and then that was it. Letting that kick return happen late in the game, it sealed the deal. If they don't let that happen, I think they could have won that game. So a play or two is what separated a win from a loss for the Bismarck Bucks at home in week one against the Strike Force, and now they will come to Sioux Falls, and hopefully there will be fans in attendance. As of right now, I have not heard anything regarding fans, the Denny Sanford Premier Center, and the Sioux Falls Storm's first home game of the season, first game of the season. Oakland, however, in case you missed it, the Oakland Panthers, poor Oakland, will open their season without fans in attendance. I say again, the Oakland Panthers will begin their inaugural season hosting the Iowa Barnstormers with no fans in attendance. That is how severe this coronavirus thing has gotten, that this is apparently a precaution that many feel need to be taken. The NCAA tournament, the whole thing, not just like a game or two, the whole damn thing will not host fans. As you see in the ticker down there, NCAA tournament will not host fans for 2020. Oakland will not host fans. NBA, the whole season has been suspended right now. I mean, this is crazy. So hopefully we can get in right under the wire, have a great home game here in Sioux Falls, host the Bucks, give you guys a feeling of normalcy for a little bit, because there's school closures, there's business closures. They're canceling a lot of things. So hopefully bills, i.e. cell phone, power, utilities, internet, car payments, insurance, things like that, hopefully those are canceled for a little bit too. That's my feeling. And shout out to Andre Fields for his tweet, because that was pretty spot on and priceless. But I mean, I just want things to feel normal. And right now we're, 4 days away from kickoff. And I want this to happen. I want it to happen the way that we've been working towards it happening. And it's not going to be perfect, but we want it to happen at this point. And I believe that it will. So for those of you wondering, there has been no word yet as to whether or not fans will be allowed at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. So please don't assume. If you're listening, this individual knows exactly who I'm talking about. If you're assuming, don't. Let me just stop you right there. Don't assume anything, okay? That's how things get worse. James has joined us on the chat. He says, wash your hands, please. That's the interesting thing about this whole Corona. That's a terrible name for a virus. The coronavirus. Yeah, that'll stalk you. No, the coronavirus. It's caused people, businesses, and pretty much everything in the world to do things that you should have already been doing the whole time. Washing your hands, sanitizing surfaces, cleaning up after yourself. My God, why did it take this to reinforce something that we're taught as a little kid? And then apparently we hit our teenage years, go through puberty, and just say, hell with it. No matter of scrubbing and deodorant can clean up this pizza face and this nasty hair and everything else you've got going on. And then you hit your late teens and your 20s and you're just like, I think I'm okay. Really? I don't understand people. It's like my biggest pet peeve for a while because I was a bartender and I worked at call centers. And so you share the restroom with a lot of people, right? There's a lot of people in call centers. There's a lot of people that will frequent the bathroom at a bar, especially in karaoke night. Now, look, if you get to a point where you're so drunk and stupid that you completely miss the urinal altogether, I get it. But how hard is it? I'm asking you, Fan Nation, right now. Focus right here. How hard is it to do this motion? Because that's all it takes to flush a urinal or a toilet. I'm just asking. This motion right here. That's it. Right there. Okay, 2 fingers down, a half a pound of pressure. Like, that is not hard to do. And it really just, it irks me that people will just not flush. Urinal, toilet, whatever. They just don't flush. Like they're too in a hurry. They're too busy. They're too occupied with their day that they can't. Yeah, it blows my mind. So now we have airlines issuing apologies, taking extra precautions, subway stations, transit, all these things, because people just can't be courteous. They can't use common sense. James also says, when you assume something, it only makes an ass out of you and me. That's exactly the truth, James. Thank you. But I didn't want to focus a lot on the coronavirus right now, but obviously it is affecting not just the world, but the world of sports, which is what we like to talk about here on the Fan Show. So as of right now, things are still on as planned for the Sioux Falls Storm home opener against the Bucks. Oakland will not host fans when they host the Iowa Barnstormers. I feel very bad for those guys, but we do have a great week 2 coming up for you. Week 1 was pretty awesome. Just because I got to go to Cedar Rapids. I got to see the season opener, which I missed last year, but I had seen the previous season. So it was great to go and see so many friends. Antonio, Jimmy, Jeremy, Joe, a lot of J's, Jaden, J-Hulk. It was great to see all those guys. And then, of course, my favorite players from other teams. Antoine Smith was there. And then we had Kevin Rudd, EJ Helliard, Quentin Pedroza, Jacob Stetz. So just a lot of great faces and great places. And, of course, Shaq Curenton was there. He made an appearance in the Fan Show Top 10 Plays of the Week for Week 1. So if you haven't gone to the Fan Show Facebook page or the YouTube channel, please do so and check those out because it's fresh off the press. And we've got more highlights to come because we will start Week 2 tomorrow. So 54-39 was your final in Cedar Rapids. Quad City, they looked good, not great yet. And I think they even will admit that. Cedar Rapids, though, looked messy. I know they scored more points than Bismarck, who that game was 50-36. Strikeforce getting their first road victory in franchise history. But the Bucks, I felt, they just missed an opportunity or two where really Cedar Rapids, they got behind early and they were playing catch up for the whole game. And then they even had a chance to kind of turn the tables to get momentum to swing in their favor. And they threw an interception in the end zone it was intercepted by the Fan Show player of the game, Keontae Godot, who is a great young talented athlete. You can see my interview with him post-game on Facebook and the YouTube channel as well. And there's also links, of course. It's in the Instagram account and on the Twitter page. So go and check those out, please. It's been a lot of fun to get back into the rhythm and the swing of things since the season started. James asks, why is Cedar Rapids struggling? I feel like they have the squad, just don't seem to get the W. What I saw, okay, and this is an unbiased third party that was there as a spectator and as media. What I saw was that it seemed like the defense of Quad City was really making it difficult for them to get third downs where they needed to for Cedar Rapids. They weren't extending drives, right? If they scored quick, and then if they didn't score at all. And their kicker got released like the next day, so obviously they weren't getting any help there. But I mean, if you look at the stats on the IFL page, goifl.com, by the way, you'll see that when it came down to Cedar Rapids, their third down efficiency, they were 2 of 9. Okay, that's 22%. They had 10 first downs, but Quad City had 15. All right. And they were 2 of 5 for third down. So they really never got put in a position to have to go for third down. But when they did, they got 40% of them. And then they got half of their fourth down, 1 of 2. But fourth down for Cedar Rapids, they were 2 of 6. So it was their inability to keep drives alive. Total offense, 148 yards. It's only a 50-yard field, but that means that you're only going up and down it 1, 2, and then just about a third. Okay, so you've got to be able to sustain drives. You really have to get your rushing going. They only had 57 yards rushing, and so they weren't getting any help there. Bernard missed a couple of wide open guys, not just passing, not just throwing to them, but just his back was turned to a wide open Shaq Curenton over here. So there's some things that they'll clean up, because it was game 1, and that's essentially just, your trial run, because there is no preseason. So week 1 is kind of your preseason game. It sucks that if you lose that game, that it counts as a loss against you, but it's dress rehearsal, right? You've had 2 weeks of camp. You've cut your roster down to 25, and now you're going to go out there and try to put it all on the field for 60 minutes. And they just really need to make sure that they get a run game established, and that they're extending drives and sustaining drives, and that they're putting up points in every aspect. So not just touchdowns, but field goals and kick returns. Also, they had a kick return. It was a great week for kick returns, really. But that's the biggest problem I see with Cedar Rapids right now, is their offense just stalled. Their defense didn't play half bad. They really didn't. Hilliard had a really good day, but when you look at, he only passed 12 times. He rushed 47 yards, and he had 125 passing. So it was they had the opening kickoff return by Kevin Rudd, and then really they chipped away at him. They did. They had another big play touchdown over the wall to Kevin Rudd. Both of those are on the Fan Show top 10. So great week for him. Hopefully he's healthy and speedy recovery. I've been told he's day to day. So Steamwheelers fans, don't lose all hope yet. Your big star is hopefully going to come back sooner than you know it. But James, to answer your question, their offense just needs to not stall. They need to be able to sustain the drive, pick up third, even fourth down, and then get points in every way that they can. So touchdowns, field goals, special teams. And you saw that in spades the next day, Bismarck versus San Diego. I mean, every other play was a kick return. It was crazy. The Bismarck Bucks, the number 1 play of the Fan Show top 10 for week 1 was their longest play in franchise history. And that was a missed field goal attempt return for a touchdown, but it might as well just been a kick return for a touchdown anyway. So that was good. So they clearly, they've got it going in special teams, but the rest, I think for them, it really came down to defense. I'm watching this game and I'm seeing, okay, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? It was tit for tat for the first 3 quarters of the game, probably even more than that, first 3.5 quarters. But again, San Diego converted 5 of 9 third downs, Bismarck 2 of 10. They were not able to sustain drives when they needed to. If they scored quick, and if they didn't, then they didn't at all. 0 for 2 on fourth down. So Barber was able to put up some points for them at 38 and 40 yards. He still missed a couple, but I mean, clearly they weren't lacking in the kicking game or the kick return game. But you look at Carrillo, he was 9 of 17, 2 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks. So Bismarck's defense was doing its work. And then you had Taz Wilson. He went 5 for 22. So their offense was kind of stalled a bit too. And, that's something that they're going to have to work on. And they have a short week to do it. And they come on the road here to Sioux Falls to take on the Storm. So that's my assessment of week 1 and what the 2 teams that lost need to do. Now, I don't have any criticism for the teams that won. I think, you took advantage of the opportunities that were there and you capitalized. So that would be, for me, do more of that, but make sure that you clean up the execution, obviously, which is what Coach Dolezel and I talk about, is his expectations for game 1 tomorrow and executing. It was a great conversation. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. And then, of course, the XFL, there was a statement released that said that their game, because Seattle's kind of the hot spot right now, so there's an official statement out there regarding Seattle, which says that basically they're on as scheduled. So XFL game is going to continue, and I think for the XFL and for Seattle, that's a big win for them. I would hate to see them suffer because of this thing that, in my mind, has been blown out of proportion. But that's neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there, Fan Nation. I have my opinions. I will try my best to keep them to myself. But yes, the XFL Week 5 in the books. Seattle fell to the undefeated Roughnecks, so still the only undefeated team left. Houston Roughnecks at 5-0. Seattle falls to 1-4. Their only game that they have won was at home to the Tampa Bay Vipers, who Vipers lost again. So was that a fluke victory that they got over DC? Probably. 34 points, but LA was able to put up 41. So LA now 2-3. It's not bad. It's not great. Just below 500. The Guardians, though, they moved to just above 500. 30-12 over the Renegades, who I thought played really well the previous week. So that was a road team getting a win that I did not expect. And then St. Louis, the Battlehawks, only put up 6 after having a great week prior against the Dragons. And DC gets 15. So DC back in the win column, they're 3-2. Battlehawks 3-2, and New York 3-2. So all those teams, 2 games behind Houston, who right now head and shoulders above the rest of the league. And then Seattle, LA, Tampa Bay. I'm not going to say Dallas, really. I think Dallas has it kind of figured out. But Seattle, LA, Tampa Bay, they really got to figure their stuff out. They do. So week 6 coming up. Looking at that schedule, you have Saturday, the Roughnecks visit New York. So this will probably be the game of the week. This I could see being Houston's first loss. New York, I think, has improved. I think they're riding a lot of momentum, but Houston is still the best team in the league. If they're going to get a loss on the road, it's going to be this one, I feel. If they're going to get a loss, if this is going to be their first one in the loss column, I feel like it'll be a road game, and it'll be New York that does it this week. So that's my prediction, since we're not going to have a show to do predictions. I think New York upsets Houston. Sorry, Houston fans. Just my thoughts. Then you have the Battlehawks taking on the Vipers. I think the Battlehawks will get this. So a road team getting a win there. Then the Renegades will take on the Defenders. This is a tough call, because I can't figure either of these teams out. 2-3 versus 3-2. I'm going to go DC at home. I will take DC at home. And then 2-3 versus 1-4 for the Wildcats and the Dragons. I'm going to go Dragons at home. So Dragons, DC, Dragons, Defenders, Battlehawks, and Guardians. There are my Week 6 XFL predictions. Feel free to share yours with me. I'd love to hear what you think as far as the next week of XFL football goes. But it's been great catching up with you guys. Sorry we haven't had quite the routine that we normally do, but please continue to spread the word. Not the coronavirus, though. Just share the content. There's no touching of other people's hands or things like that involved with just clicking that like or share button on the Facebook page for our top 10 plays of the week, as well as the Fan Show Player of the Game interview, the Outstanding Players of the Week, which we've still got defense and special teams coming up. But congratulations, E.J. Hilliard, who is our Week 1 Outstanding Player of the Week for the 2020 season. And then make sure that you're following us on Twitter, at Fan Show Official, on Instagram, The Fan Show, and that you're subscribed if you can't watch live on Facebook. Again, if you like the Facebook page, this is your exclusive. You get all of this before anybody else does just by liking the Facebook page. So I want to thank you guys again for all the love. We continue to celebrate 5 years of Fan Show here, and it's been a lot of fun for me. I do love doing this for you guys, doing the Fan Show and everything. But it's not always going to be easy. Obviously, the storm require my attention. There it is. I'm looking opposite of myself here. But the storm, top priority. Fan Show is second priority, but I can still do my best to bring you guys top quality content covering the premier indoor league in the U.S., and that is the Indoor Football League, or the IFL. And don't forget, on that note, we have more action week 2 than we did week 1. Tomorrow, Duke City at Frisco. It's going to be a good one. Then, March 14th, Saturday, Iowa at Oakland, Cedar Rapids at San Diego. Then, Sunday, the big one, Bismarck at Sioux Falls. I hope to see a lot of you guys there at that Sioux Falls Storm game. Like I said, everything right now is business as usual. Please do not panic. Please do not freak out, and do not assume. Just wash your hands. Take care of yourself. Do the stuff that they taught you to do as a little kid. So here we go with my interview with Coach Clint Dolezel of the Frisco Fighters. Enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a big fan show. Welcome to the new coach of the new Frisco Fighters entering the league for the 2020 season. He is Clint Dolezel. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. Excited to see what we got on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think the first Thursday night game is always a fun one. We obviously had the chance to whet our IFL appetites this last weekend with Quad City and Cedar Rapids, and then San Diego and Bismarck. Now, San Diego, they came into the league as an expansion team last year, and they didn't do as good as their other expansion team counterparts in Tucson. And so now we have 4 brand new teams, Spokane, Frisco, Oakland, and I guess if you count Duke City, maybe, because they've been part of another league, much like Quad Cities was the year before. But here we are, and I'm sure that you've done your homework, your research. Like, how do you feel on the eve before your first game in the IFL?
Well, I mean, the unknown is always the scary part. There was a lot of new faces on our team that have never played the game before. A lot of players we talked about yesterday with some of these guys have never been on actual, really field turf. You know, the cuts on it you're going to be able to make, the tennis shoe you have to wear to it, you can't wear the cleats. So that's the crazy thing about with the new era and, of players of this generation is, they've never played on a field like this. And just the fast-pacedness of it and keeping the adrenaline in check, which is very, very hard to do. I don't care who you are. You can be in the best shape of your life, but you go out there in that first game, you are just blown.
Yeah, it's quite the experience, that first game of the season. I know that Quad City, they got the win. I was there in Cedar Rapids, and they said, we got the win, but there's a lot of work we have to do. For you, what is your hope this first game, and what do you think, based on training camp, the roster, and just your coaching staff, what do you think you'll take away from game 1, win, lose, or draw?
Well, I mean, we want to go out and execute the biggest thing on both sides of the ball. I think if we can do that, avoid your first game mistakes, being offsides. I saw a lot of penalties of guys in the belt, that type of thing, which are going to happen for, everyone. I'm assuming the first game, especially new franchises, new coaches. I'm still, not totally on board of what exactly some of the rules are. With some of the shading and things like that of getting a piece on the belt. But, we're going to figure them out as they go. And the good part is I've got a very veteran coaching staff to the indoor game. So we'll be able to make adjustments on the fly and hopefully put on a good show.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the rules, because I'm all for innovation. I think what the XFL has implemented into their game and their style is really something that I feel could and should catch on in other leagues. But you guys are adding the deuce rule, which is something that I'm most familiar with, being an NAL kind of thing. But I was down there in Cedar Rapids. I'm talking to one of the referees, and we get under a minute in the first half. And I go, "Oh, he can attempt a deuce now, right?" And he's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Does he have to let you know if he's going to attempt that?" He's like, "No." And so I understand it was the first game, and there's still some clarity and things. But the more rules you try to change each year, the more your referees have to learn and make sure that they know forwards and backwards, as I'm sure you're no stranger to. So it's going to be a learning experience for everyone involved, and I certainly hope that as far as your team goes, you guys execute as well as you possibly can for the first game, and that things go more or less according to plan. What's the approach for a debut at home and you're hosting a former champion from another league?
Yeah, we know we're got fans. Yeah, they are, in quotations, are an expansion team as well. New players, a lot of new players, new coaching staff, which came from this league. I think that's definitely a bonus for them, having Coach Big Brown and that group to be out there and be able to teach these guys from the ground up what exactly the rules are. So we know they're going to be well coached. I get to watch a little film on him. I know he's a defensive coordinator. The only part from the other side of that, don't know much, don't have any film on the offensive coordinator. Know a little bit about the quarterback. We know he's a gunslinger. He can throw it around and very accurate with the ball. So, that from our side of it, is about all we could do. And now we just got to go out and execute. We feel with, the way the game is played, if we just, do our work, we feel like we can be in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason why you guys can't. You guys have been making some smart moves roster-wise, and obviously you come from quite the background. For the listeners that don't know what your background is, like where do you hail from, and how did you wind up, coaching the Frisco Fighters for the IFL?
Ooh, that's a long haul back. 13 years in the Arena League with several different teams. Finished up in Dallas. The league shut down in 8. The Arena Football League did, in 9. Ended up having to take a quick coaching job in AF2 as an offensive coordinator down with the Florida Firecats. Next year, I was actually in the IFL coaching in San Angelo. Wow, the game changed since then with just pure talent, coaching, all of it. The game is just so much better than it was then. And then I went back to the AFL with the Dallas Vigilante, and they shut down the next year. And then I ended up going with the Philadelphia Soul for 9 years after that as the head coach, and we had a lot of success there, had great owners there. And then the league shut down this past year, and I had to find something. And the good thing, I knew a lot of the people around the league, and Stephen Evans here and Dave Winham, and been around the game for so long, so I've got so much experience on our side from that side of it, as well as my coaching staff. We think we're around 125 years of experience with our organization. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, so clearly quite the resume for you. And yes, I was familiar with you in your Philadelphia Soul days. That was a solid squad. I was sad to see the AFL fold up shop. I know it was the IFL's biggest competition, if you even want to call it that, though they're very different styles, as I'm sure you know. But, the opportunity for so many talented players gone now, is really disheartening. So hopefully those players can get an opportunity in the IFL sooner than later. I know that there's kind of a hold on that, but what's your strategy been coming to the IFL to recruit players, knowing that a lot of the guys that you couldn't have with the Soul, is it a start from scratch kind of thing, or was there, a method to it?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously disappointing. You're right, with the AFL players not, being able to play in the IFL. I had a lot of I have a strong bond with a lot of those players. I think I had 14 rookies on my team last year with the Soul, and I thought for sure I was going to be able to get those guys in here with, I know the rules of only having 7 vets in your team. I thought that was a great situation for me, and, I had a good relationship. I feel like I'm a player's coach. I get along, and, I try to take care of my players. But when that was, put out there that we couldn't bring them in, the great thing is Texas is a very big state and a very football-proud state. They're walking around the street right now out here, and you could pick off anybody and go flag football even, and there's some serious talent out here. And we found some good local talent, found some big-name players that played, in TCU and Turpin, and Neal had played at Oklahoma, Texas Tech running back, and Marcus Felton. So we've got a lot of talent. We found some good young players that, a lot of guys just need a chance, and they're going to get one with us.
Yeah, and I like how you went and looked locally for talent, because I think at this level, the IFL, that is such a huge thing to have local talented players on your rosters. So I applaud you for going out and doing that. Especially, I mean, I applaud you, but you're in Texas, like you said. There's not going to be any shortage of good, talented, hungry athletes there. So good on you for assembling a roster, given what you've been dealt as far as a hand goes. So tomorrow night, 7:05 Central, you guys will host Duke City, and of course, expansion teams. Really, there's different levels of expectation. Like I said, San Diego didn't do that great last year, but they went and they gave themselves a whole new look this year. They're 1-0 after winning their first ever road game in franchise history. But then Tucson, of course, had kind of high expectations because it's a Coach Guy product there in Arizona, and they had to win to get in against Quad City last year. They did so they got playoff bid. I mean, have you thought about what your expectations are for yourself personally as far as, being the captain of the maiden voyage for the Frisco Fighters in 2020?
Sure. I mean, obviously, anybody's going to say it's about winning the championship. Our goal is to get in the playoffs. And we know in this crazy game of the indoor game that anything can happen in the playoffs, and we just want to give ourselves a chance. So we know we're going to be a little behind, even though we're our veteran coaching staff, we're new to this game. So we're going to figure it out as we go. And I'm pretty sure with the capable minds I have here, we're going to fix it pretty fast if we haven't got it right early.
Yeah, I think you guys definitely are one of the teams to watch this season. I'm very excited to see the kind of product that you guys put out there. You guys are home, and then you're on the road against Green Bay, who was a team that went from really worst to first pretty much last year, getting into the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. And then, you come to Sioux Falls. So you guys are going to be pretty battle-tested, by the time you guys hit your stride there. And, of course, as a competitive coach, you probably wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, well, I'd love to. I know there's no cupcake games in this. I'd love to get our feet wet with some little easier teams than we started out with. I think there is going to be an easy team. It looks competitive, which is great for the league. I think all 13 teams are going to have a fighting chance, and every time they step out there, obviously, Arizona and Sioux Falls are the cream of the crop, and we know that going into it, and we're trying to model our game after them.
Yeah, and for you guys, I know that on the show I've talked a lot about how I feel that this is the most competitive field as far as teams go, but also coaches. We have a lot of coaches back on the same playing field for the first time in several years. Billy Back is with Spokane after he was with Wichita Falls and then with the NAL for a few years. Excuse me. Amir Ishmael is a head coach for Iowa after he was a defensive coordinator for Spokane back when they were the Empire, and then he went to the NAL. And just the makeup of everybody here. Is there a coach or coaches that you have a history with that you're excited to play against this season?
Oh, of course, Kevin Guy and I have been battling. So yeah, that's a no-brainer of a going to be a rivalry. And you're right. Billy Back, he should have been mentioned in that name when I mentioned the two franchises of Sioux Falls and Arizona, and obviously the Spokane has got an unbelievable following there, and Billy's bringing he fielded a great roster from a lot of NAL players that he had in the past. So we know they're going to be tough too. It's like you said, it's going to be exciting to watch, and a lot of great coaches and a lot of great talent.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited for it. We only had 2 games the first week, but now we will have 4 games the second week. So we will see 8 teams in action. Your Frisco Fighters are one of them, hosting the former 2-time champion of the Champions Indoor Football League. And then we'll see Iowa at Oakland, another new team there. We'll see how things go with them. So they're at home just like you guys. Cedar Rapids will make a visit to San Diego. And then Bismarck will go to Sioux Falls for the Storm's home opener. So going to be a great week 2 of IFL football. Coach, I wish you the best of luck tomorrow night. And I can't thank you enough for taking some time here to come join us on the show.
And I appreciate it. Anytime I love to talk about football, so we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. He is Clint Dolezel of the Frisco Fighters, opening up their season tomorrow night against the Duke City Gladiators. You take care, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
And thank you once again to Coach Dolezel for taking the time. And we love having new guests right here on the Fan Show. If we can, 2 nights a week. But if not, Then we'll do a special impromptu Wednesday late night. That's right, Fan Show late night episode. Fan Show After Dark is what we call it when the sun has gone down, and it's really hard to not call it that in the dead of winter. But since it's been staying out lighter now because we turn the clocks ahead, that means that you really have to try now to have a Fan Show After Dark episode. So we did one here, first one in 2020, Fan Show After Dark. I want to thank all of you who tuned in. I'd say stay calm and just chill and whatnot, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I guess do what you're going to do, and we shall see how this whole thing plays out. So I want to say I love y'all. I really do. Hope we have a game this weekend. Hope everybody has games, but hopefully fans can attend most of those games. Feel sorry for Oakland again. And, of course, on a lighter note, one more shout-out to Undisputed Belts. We have done the Fan Show Fantasy Football League for 4 seasons, and each year that there is a winner that isn't me, Undisputed Belts sends a free belt per our partnership and their sponsorship of the show, one of their pre-made designs. They have 3 plates designs to choose from. The winner does. They send it to them. They open the box. Joy overcomes them, and they are the champion. But I've really wanted to hand deliver these things, but I'm not going to go. Well, I mean, maybe I could have gone to Seattle for producer Rob, but geez, Brett, when he was the first winner, he lived in Carolina. There was James, he lived in Cleveland. So Adam Lamprett of No Pants Nation, he won this season, and that was just before I moved to Sioux Falls, which is where he is. And so I got to hand deliver the first ever white championship belt, which is what he wanted. And the design that he wanted, and it looked fantastic. The look on his face. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. It's up on the Facebook page. But thank you, Undisputed Belts, for all that you guys do. You have been a crucial part of the Fan Show and my identity with the custom belt that I have for the player of the game, for the games that I can go to, and just for other occasions and events as well. It's really been my calling card, my staple over the past 4 years of the Fan Show, of the 5 that we've done, because we didn't implement the belt until year 2. But now the Fantasy League, of course, 4 seasons in, and 4 people have gotten 4 of these belts, and it just really makes such a huge difference. So thank you, Undisputed Belts. Congratulations one more time to Adam. I want to thank all of you guys for listening and watching. Remember, you can catch the live stream if you like the Facebook page. That is the exclusive. You get it before anybody else does. And if you can't make it live, then make sure that you have subscribed to iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and of course Spreaker.com. Never miss an episode, never miss a beat. Always be in the know and enjoy all things Fan Show. So we are going to go ahead and say goodnight. It's not official unless it's Fan Show official. We are officially out of here, Fan Nation. Stay safe. Be happy. Don't worry too much. Wash your hands. Flush your toilets. And remember, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.